What are the sins of the watchers? And what are the implications for us today? We're going to look into what the watchers actually did and what are the implications. When you look at Genesis 6, as I've said before, Genesis 6 tells us very little of what happened. We'll take a quick scan of it now. The sons of God, that is the angels, the heavenly beings created by God, saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them that they chose. They went to the daughters of men, the daughters of humans, and had children by them. That's all Genesis 6 says. And it says further that there is a great deal of wickedness that followed at the heels of that. We will see in a few minutes why that is. So the watchers, very powerful senior level angels, very gifted in knowledge, gifted in power and authority, rebelled, doing the unthinkable, and came to earth. Now we're going to look at two passages in the book of Enoch that deal with the sin of the watchers. One is early in the book of Watchers, chapters 1 through 36, and usually around chapter 6, chapter 8. Then there's another section in what's called the book of Parables, chapter 69. We're going to deal with the book of Watchers and then the book of Parables. So the watchers defiled themselves with women. In a recent video, I explained why that is regarded in this book as defiling. You can go and listen to that if you wish. Teaching people sorcery, charms, and other things that were forbidden for them to teach. The cuttings of roots and plants, that's a reference to pharmakia. In the days of the Bible, and Enoch was written at a time just before the New Testament and after the Old Testament had basically come to a close as far as new material being added to it. The word for sorcery and the use of plants, roots, substances to bring healing and to do incantations with is pharmakia, which is something in the New Testament and the Old Testament, the Greek translation, that you find translated as usually sorcery or witchcraft. That's what's going on here. So they began also, the watchers did, to reveal these mysteries to their families. Again, they were in the position in heaven of having access to all kinds of forbidden knowledge that was not supposed to be leaving heaven. Remember, Paul says, he went up into the heavens and he heard things that it was forbidden to utter. He heard things, what you've heard here stays here. But the watchers took that information and brought it to earth with terrible consequences, as we'll see. They had powers, hidden secrets, magic arts, the powers of enchantment, and metallurgy. And we'll deal in a minute with what the implications of metallurgy are. How silver is produced from the dust of the earth and how soft metal occurs in the earth. Lead and tin. There's a spring and then there's an angel. There's a lot of stuff that takes place in these two sections of Enoch. And we're going to go into the details right now. Shemhaza, the chief, who's listed in chapter 6, taught them spells and cutting roots. Now again, if you get into cutting roots, herbs, at one time, and this is still the case today in many places in the world, the cuttings of gatherings of herbs and roots and other things from nature to do medicine is well known. But what's not as well known is that there are plenty of places and times, including in the ancient world, where use of plants, herbs, roots, and so forth was combined with sorceries, incantations, and so forth, which were closely allied with witchcraft and occultism. And that's the case today. Now, when that happens, the Bible has a word for it, pharmakia. And that's a word that you can look up, Pharmakeia, pharmakia. It occurs in Galatians and Revelation and in the Septuagint version in the Old Testament. So Shemhaza taught them spells and the cuttings of roots. Artakoff taught them the signs of the earth. There are a group of watchers that taught how to read the stars, the signs, the lightning flashes. Basically, what we would call today astrology. Astrology was brought to the earth by the watchers, according to this section of the Book of Watchers. Asael, now we're really getting into some serious stuff here, taught people how to make swords of iron, weapons and shields and breastplates and instruments of war. He showed the metals of the earth and how to work gold and silver, fashioning them for bracelets and ornaments. How to find metals and do metallurgy was a huge advance. It was history making, history changing. And Enoch tells us that this knowledge was brought to the earth. It was forbidden to leave heaven, but it was brought to the earth. And the outcome of this is that people now were able to make weapons and kill each other and make problems more effectively, more easily. This is a really big deal, and this is seen in chapter 8 of the Book of Watchers. I'll make this available. There will be a link on the video in the About section that tells you how to get a copy of this. They taught all iniquity on the earth and revealed the eternal mysteries of heaven. Big stuff. How to produce antimony and eye paint, precious stones and dyes. Basically, how to have women make themselves very alluring to men. Now, this can be a very good thing, but it can also be a very bad thing. You see this throughout Scripture, that a over focus on appearance and seductiveness never turns out well. And this was one of the things that came down from heaven from the Watchers. Now you go into chapter 69 and you get a whole list of them also. I'll pull out the ones that are very pertinent here. One led the children of the angels to go astray down to the earth, leading them astray to go after women and giving them evil counsel to the angels. 69 verses 4 and 5. There are two angels here who seem to have had a key role in persuading this group of watchers to go down and to get involved in these activities with women. All we know is what we see here. It's very, very brief, not cryptic, but it's very brief. But these two, Yekon and Esbiel, giving evil counsel to them and leading them astray so that they would go down. Now, we know that Shemhaza was the leader in that regard, but these two had a great deal to do with the angels as a whole being persuaded to go down together. Gadriel showed the blows of death, the shield, the coat of mail, the sword of battle, and the implements. Basically, you're talking weapons of warfare. Very serious business. It also says, this is Enoch 69:6, he led astray Eve. This is a real big one. It's not elaborated on. All it says that he was there and helped to lead astray Eve. Again, there's much about Enoch that is quite mysterious. This is one part of it. Penemu, showing the bitter and the sweet and all the secrets of their wisdom. He taught them writing with ink and papyrus. It says in this section, 69, people were not born for this purpose, to confirm their trustworthiness through pen and ink. You could look at that another way and paraphrase it and say, if somebody has to have a written contract to make sure somebody's going to do something, that's not the way to live. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. But Penemu, bringing in writing and ink, allowed people to make written agreements, contracts, and so forth, confirming their trustworthiness by writing something down. This was something that he brought to the earth, and it says this shouldn't have happened. And through this knowledge, they're perishing. Writing allows humanity to carry and conserve wisdom from one generation to another. It allows people to gather and to analyze and to make conclusions and plans based on accumulated wisdom. Now, at one time before the invention of writing, this was not the case. But once people learned how to record things, things started changing because they could now make different kinds of plans, different kinds of decisions based on this information. Castiel, this is a very grievous one, I should think. This one showed people all the evil blows of the spirits and the demons, the blows that attack the embryo in the womb so that it miscarries. Basically, this one, how to produce abortions and miscarriages from the womb, blows that attack the soul, blows that are like the bite of a serpent. This is really serious business. These are the kind of things that came down from the Watchers. Caspiel, chief of the oath, tricked Archangel Michael into sharing secret information related to the divine name in order to incorporate these secrets into the oath used by the Watchers on Mount Hermon, Enoch chapter 6. So you have this one angel, one of the Watchers, whose name came to be called the Chief of the Oath. He tricked Archangel Michael into sharing forbidden knowledge with him that he could then take, and when he had these conspirators all gathered together on Mount Hermon, this information was incorporated into the oath that they swore that they would all go down together and take part in these activities together. It wasn't going to be like one guy, oh, well, he talked us into it. But they made an oath together so that they agreed, we're in this together. We all agreed, we all determined it. And if we get in trouble, we're going down together. So these are the kind of things that came out of the Watchers coming down from heaven. To sum this up, what you've got is you have two things. You have them entering into forbidden marriages between heavenly beings and human women. That was a big thing. They also produced offspring, which had never happened, hybrid offspring between a fallen angel and a human that turned out to be giants, the Nephilim, and others descended from them. And then you had a variety of forbidden knowledge that was forbidden to be brought to earth. These Watchers deceived Michael. One of them deceived Michael, and they agreed that they would bring this forbidden knowledge to earth. And the results of that forbidden knowledge are astrology, witchcraft, sorcery, occultism, and metallurgy, in the sense that it allowed people to create weaponry and items of warfare so that large numbers of people could be killed more effectively than ever before. This is really very, very grievous. And this is what let loose and what Genesis 6 talks about a little further on. What we're saying in this section here is that it wasn't just the fall that produced, the Genesis 3, the fall, that produced so much sin that God couldn't stand it anymore. The sin of Adam and Eve and their descendants was very serious, very grievous. It put an end to their eternal life. But what we see here in Genesis 6, verse 5, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. This is what God said after the Watchers had turned this knowledge loose into humanity, after they had told their families about it. And the old saying, people talk. And people talked about this, and this knowledge went running out into the world. How to do astrology, how to do divination based on the stars and the earth and the moon, how to produce weaponry, how to do witchcraft and occultism, how to do pharmakia, using roots and plants and herbs and other growing things along with incantations to produce effects on people. The whole bunch of this was very, very, very serious, and we will be looking in the times to come at more of what happened on this. But this is the sin of the Watchers. If you want a copy of this, you can look down in the comments below where I put in details of what the video is going to be. We can see that. Also, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Take a look around. There's more videos on Enoch, angels and demons, and so forth. A lot of stuff that you can't find elsewhere. And in any event, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you again soon. God bless you.